Okay, at the end of the last section, we were talking about why we estimate, and I've got some things up there. Lower stress, improves decisions. There's some other stuff I want to hit real quick. It also allows coordination and communication between different teams. It can bring a lot of value in that, like, well, now we know what we're not doing, so there's a set of options that we take off the table because we've estimated that's given us an answer of what decisions make sense or don't based on whatever those estimates tell us. Again, if they're wrong, that might end up being wrong, but now we don't have to worry about a set of other options. They're really helpful. Even people that claim not to like estimates or estimation, they actually estimate all the time in a million little ways. It's just that they don't often like it in the work context. And let me give an example, by the way, if people are like, I hate estimates, we should never estimate. Let's talk about that. Let's imagine a company. This is that hypothetical and hyperbolic part. This is the company that doesn't estimate. So you start working. It's in a remote role at a place that thinks estimation is useless. You love that about them because you hate estimation. It's only ever been a waste of time everywhere you've ever worked. And this company has been super consistent about it all the way through the interview process. Every time you ask them how long it would take to get to the next step in the interview process or when they get back to you with a signed offer letter or anything like that, they told you they don't know. Because to give you that answer would have to be an estimate. You'll just have to wait. It's made the whole interview process somewhat maddening, but at least they've been honest and consistent in their principles of not estimating things. So you finally passed everything. You signed the letter. Now you're coming up on your first day of work. You're supposed to reach out to the IT department and fill out a form to get a laptop sent to you that will work. So you've done that, and now you're waiting. You could ask them when the laptop would arrive, but you realize that that would involve asking them to estimate. Since you know they wouldn't give you an answer, you just wait. And you wait, and you wait. The day to start work, when you're supposed to be kicking off, it comes and it goes, but you have no idea if this is normal or not. No one can tell you, because that would be to estimate. And after that first day, you ask them if anything has gone wrong. You go like, maybe I can ask a question, it's not an estimation. Has anything gone wrong? They tell you everything is fine. It's working as normal. They don't know when your laptop will arrive. You try to use some historical data. Well, how long has it taken other people to get their laptops? But they're familiar with that trick. They're not going to tell you historical data because they know you'll view it like an estimate, so they refuse. You go back to twiddling your thumbs, and they refuse to even send you a tracking number because they don't like how willy-nilly those shipping services are with giving people estimates. I imagine this would be incredibly frustrating for you. The reality is that sometimes knowing when something will probably arrive or might be ready or will most likely be in the build is often very useful information, not just for the team doing the work, but also for the teams around them. Yeah, just talk to a release team or a live ops person for like 10 seconds about estimation. Ask them if it's useful to know when things will be checked into the build or how long the QA process takes or how long builds take in different parts of the world or releases or whatever it might be. Trust me, they're useful, even if they're estimates. It's why we estimate work in game and software development. It's so that we, our stakeholders, fellow teams, the studio and game leadership, and eventually our players or audience can anticipate when things will be done. There's something else here, though, that is important to talk about, and that is that estimation is not itself the goal. This is an important thing to realize. Estimation has no end in and of itself. Unless you're just trying to practice estimation, which might be something you're doing, even that's for the benefit of you, not for the estimation itself. It's similar to a roadmap, or a plan, or dependency tracking, or prioritization, or anything that we do as part of the process of work. Estimation is supposed to serve something else. It is not the point. So, we estimate so we can make better decisions about the things that are currently unknown, and estimation is one of those things that will assist us in reaching the goals that we have. But you have to know what the real goal is. And you can ladder that goal up to a variety of things based on what your desired studio impacts are. Maybe you want to improve player engagement, maybe you want to bring in more money, maybe you want to create a meaningful experience or build a cool new genre of a game. You want to teach a life lesson, you don't want to run out of bank account, you want to change how game developers relate to players. There's a million different goals your team or studio or company may have. Maybe you're just trying to make a game you're proud to get into the hands of real players. Even the culture you build should be in support of these greater goals that you have, and estimation is just one piece of that. Hopefully, by providing useful assumptions and estimations about the unknown, you get to make better decisions. You get to plan, adapt, take risks, etc. So this is one of the first questions that I want you to think about whenever you're estimating. Why are we estimating? Bad answers, because we always have, because you're supposed to, because that's my job. No, estimation is not the goal. It's not your job. It is part of what you do, and it serves something greater. Maybe it's so that people can work together better. Maybe it's so we can take smarter risks. Maybe it's so that we can make a decision between two different options based on time, an estimate of time or effort or something like that. Maybe it's nice to pretend we know things, even when we don't, so that we don't have to worry and deal with the anxiety and unknowns, even if they're still there. Do not mistake estimation for the goal. The reason I don't want you to mistake estimation for the goal or think that you have to do it just because it's estimation and we always have, estimation takes time and effort. It's supposed to help you reach the goal, but it is not the goal. This means you have an opportunity cost problem to figure out because a bunch of other stuff also move you towards the goal. You might prioritize. You might have a meeting about what's important. You might spend a bunch of time working. Imagine that. All these things you could do instead of estimating. Maybe it's better to get the leads together and from 4 different teams and talk about what you're trying to do and what the architecture is or something, instead of pulling all those leads individually and having them estimate something. Whenever you choose to estimate, you are making the choice that estimation for whoever's involved is more valuable than whatever else they could be doing with that time. So if you book an hour-long meeting and say, we're going to estimate, your assumption is that you are going to get an above-average value return, and hopefully the highest value return you can get out of that meeting compared to having everybody in there talk to each other or work or do something else. This is so important. You have to see estimation as opportunity cost. If you don't, it is really easy to fall into a trap of all estimation is worth it because it reduces our unknowns, it reduces our anxiety, and so let's just estimate everything so we know everything and spend more time estimating so our estimates get better, which is also a fallacy. We will go into that later. Too often people don't do this. Estimation is done just because they don't know why, they don't understand the opportunity cost, they spend a lot of time doing things that do not move them towards the goal as fast as they could be going. Estimation isn't free. It doesn't have to be done in all environments. Sometimes it's useful to choose not to estimate because other stuff is more important. So let's talk about the drawbacks of estimation. The biggest immediate drawback I see is what I just talked about, opportunity cost. 2 forms of this. One is just pure, hey, we got a bunch of people into a room, they spent some time doing estimation stuff. That is time they did not spend doing other things. The other, second part of this, though, is the interruption cost. And, we talked a lot about switching cost and context and that sort of thing. When you have somebody who's in work and trying to really get something done and you pull them out of that, they can't just jump right back into it. You can't have an engineer attempt to code in 5-minute chunks, broken up by 5 minutes of meetings all throughout the day. Nothing is going to get done. To really get into code as an engineer, most engineers are going to have to spend some time thinking about, okay, what's the space? What does this look like? What am I trying to do? That might take them up to half an hour just to get back into flow. Once they're in flow, then they're working, you interrupt them, you break it, they have to get back in. Both of those are costs. Those are opportunity costs related to time. So whenever you choose to estimate, whenever you choose to have anyone else estimate, you pay both these costs. You pay the context switching cost and you pay the raw time cost. Another drawback, second drawback, just having estimation in the picture is a distraction for everybody involved, especially leaders and like producers or project managers. Your brain has to constantly be thinking about and aware of estimation. It doesn't just, you don't walk into the estimation room, do estimation, walk out, and then you don't think about it. For many people, it's like, oh, I'm thinking about what I estimated or how the team, like what does that mean for the team and all this different stuff. It occupies the space of your brain. And again, we have limited brain space, so that being occupied or that pulling thoughts to it means that you're not being pulled somewhere else that might be more useful. Third drawback of estimation, man, this one is the one everybody's terrified of, creation of harmful expectations. So Imagine a world where you go, you say, team came together, we did some estimates, we think it's going to be done in 4 weeks. Everybody said, great, cool, we're now banking the company on that. You go, whoa, wait a minute, it was just an estimate, it's not that much. Nope, too late, we're banking the company on it. If you were wrong, we're all dead. Well, you're wrong, everybody. The company had to shut down, ran out of money, that was it. Congratulations, your estimate ruined everything. And this is the reality that I talked about earlier, where estimation, even though I do find it to be performative, and we don't learn a ton about it, and we don't iterate on it very well to get better at it, it's high stakes. When people see estimates, it creates expectations for them. It creates expectations about how they think things are going to happen. Because again, an estimation is a guess about the unknown that it helps us make decisions. And so it's designed to create those expectations, but sometimes those expectations are harmful. And so, if you've been doing estimations a long time with teams, especially as a leader, like half the game is just managing the expectations that estimations might create. Like, oh, well, now that's going to tell someone the wrong thing, and so they're going to think that's going to be done in next quarter, and that's not true. This gets really into big mess. So you have these 3 drawbacks: time lost, raw and context shift, distraction, cognitive load, and accidental anchoring leading to misleading expectations. None of these are cheap, especially not at scale. Okay? Remember, the inexperienced question is, does the value I get from estimation outweigh the cost? The more experienced question, does the value I get from estimation outweigh all other things I could do with that time and brain space? Is it worth it across these vectors? Or am I going to pay too much in opportunity cost, distraction, and harmful expectation setting that makes estimation not worth it? If we're really going to take estimation seriously as a practice within game and software development, that means sometimes we deliberately do not do it because it is not worth it compared to something else we could be doing.